All righty. Well, welcome back to the Beyond the Deals podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Corey. We have a special guest today with closed title, Walter DeVenne. They're doing amazing things across the nation, closing some difficult transactions, and they actually just became one of our affiliates within the real estate deal makers community. So we'd love to introduce Walter. How you doing, Walter?
I'm doing great. How's everything with you?
Doing absolutely amazing. Really just want to kind of get to know you first. Why are you even in closed title? What are you doing? Where you come from? Who Walter is?
I grew up north of Boston in a city called Medford, Mass. And I just was, it was an amazing time of growing up in New England. I was raised by a single mom, my brother and I, and she was great. She worked, I guess my work ethic comes from her. She pretty much put herself through college while working numerous jobs, while raising us, together. My brother and I both went to private schools, and I played competitive basketball, all state, and was able to get a scholarship to go to a college in Winter Park, Florida, which is what brought me to Florida. So yeah, I graduated at Rollins College, and soon after I graduated, I stayed in the real estate and got my real estate license, and really enjoyed the interaction. There's a lot of opportunity in Florida, and then basically decided that I want to be closer to the water, which if you know anything about Central Florida, it's nothing but theme parks and restaurants, so it's really touristy. But to get to a beach took about 90 minutes to get to any beach, any direction. So
Yeah.
I came to Tampa Bay in 2000, and it's pretty much what brought me into the title world. I started in the title business in 2001, and it was just an amazing business, as far as just I'm in the sales and marketing side of title. I've always been that way. And, working the title business, for almost 25 years now, I built so many relationships, so many friendships throughout the years. I met my wife in the business, she was one of my clients, as a lender. So
Wow.
just really, I owe a lot to the title business. It's not just, great money and great opportunity and, doing a lot of deals. There's a lot more to it.
Yeah.
I find like most of my friends, are either a lender or a realtor or an investor, or title people in general. But yeah, it's a great business. Kind of, I joke with my title friends in the industry, when I see them, after all these years, we always joke and say, being in title is kind of like the mafia. Once you're in, it's hard to get
Yeah.
out. So it's been great though, and title's been, just a, you know, and the funny thing is, Florida's been a great place for real estate. Obviously, I mean, between Texas and Florida, and California, it's the three hottest places for people to move to as far as everything that it provides. And even today, I mean, the development and building is just beyond anything you've ever seen. I mean, there's nothing but new construction happening everywhere you look. And it's not stopping. It's just going to continue. We got no state sales tax, so business is always going to be pretty busy here.
I agree. Yeah, no, Florida is definitely a great market. I've done quite a few deals out there myself, just wholesale transactions, and just being a part of a lot of transactions in that general area. I remember you mentioning, so you went to school, played basketball, you graduated, and you got your license. So when you got your license, was that to become an agent or was that to become something different?
Yeah, I worked for a major developer that owned a bunch of resorts. David Siegel, who just passed away this past year, he was one of the biggest developers in the entire state of Florida. He owns a bunch of timeshare resorts. I worked with him, and I was one of his top guys for about 5 or 6 years, and just really kind of, was able to learn a little bit about real estate. And then, but what brought me to title was just kind of random. I just had a lot of friends in the business that were doing really a lot of business. They love their jobs, and I'm a people person. I've always been someone that likes to, get out there and shake hands and meet people. So for me, it was a very, different type of opportunity. But the good news was, I was always very competitive, with sports and sales. So for me, I was always looking to be the top person. And I think after about just 6 months at my first title company, I was the number one guy there in the company. And from there, it just really took off. And
Skyrocket.
it helps when you have good people around you to help support, the clients. But title was great, and over the years, titles evolved a lot since 2001. I really started working with investors and wholesalers in about 2014, about maybe 12 years ago. And I really enjoyed the working on the investor wholesale side just because it's a lot more challenging than a lot of other, people. A lot of people might think, and those title companies to be able to do retail deals, simple refinance or purchase. I mean, any title company can really do that in their sleep. It's not as challenging, even though there is challenges. But working with investors, being able to, understand how to facilitate, assignments, novations, sub two, double close, contract for deeds. I mean, they're not easy deals. And, it takes a really special, company and closing agent to actually understand those. I've been blessed to be on the sales and marketing side forever. And luckily we have people at our company at Close Title. They just really understand the transactions better than most. So I've been in the investor wholesale side for a long time, and I joined Close Title last year, and it's been phenomenal. One of the owners actually owned a wholesale company, so he understood, all the deals that we were trying to accomplish with our clients, which is a huge factor because not a lot of title owners really understand the ins and outs of the deals, how they're structured. They just see the opportunity and the money, but they don't really understand what goes into it. And thankfully he understood that. And then our other owner, he's an attorney, a real estate attorney. So you get both of them together, it really makes for a very strong ownership team that really, can do a lot together. The is, been around for 6 years at Close Title. And, since then, since they opened 6 years ago during COVID, we were up to 26 offices now. And, we have, we just actually added Iowa yesterday. So now we're in 38.
Love that. Congrats.
We can close any wholesale or creative transaction in 38 states. And we're still looking to add more states and still looking to grow, more offices. But, the good news is, the fact that we, have the opportunities and we're joining groups like yours that have, opportunities for us to meet, people that are like-minded like us that are looking for, companies that understand what they're going through, is huge. And I can't tell you how many calls I get on a daily basis where when I tell people what we do, they smile and say, "Where have you been all my life? We've been needing you for years." And again, the reality is, the people that know this industry and that are in it, there's really not a lot of companies out there like ours.
There's not, but
Yeah.
well, I was just going to mention that's the beautiful thing that you're just mentioning too, is that both the owners, for one of the one of the owners was a wholesaler. They understand the ins and outs, the investment, because a lot of investors, if you're creative and you think outside the box and you're able to make a deal work, even when it may not pencil out traditionally for somebody else, that's when you need somebody really good in your corner, like a title company, to be able to facilitate that transaction. And then the other owner being able to understand the law and understand, hey, what can we actually do? And if we can't do this, how can we actually do it to make it legal? And so I think that's the best of both worlds in order to have a title company like you guys. That's really what made us kind of attracted to you guys in the first place.
Yeah. It's a challenge. It really is. Like the questions we get on a daily basis, the deals, I mean, they're all unique in their own way. And it's just, but again, and I wish I had all the answers. I mean, I'm a licensed title agent. I'm also a licensed real estate broker. So I understand a lot about, the ins and outs of both industries, but there's still things that come up every day that I still am like, wow, I have no idea, let's talk to so-and-so, or I'll give so-and-so a call. Like we have, I think 5 or 6 attorneys that are part of our closed office family, the Close Title family. So, I mean, literally, we can get answers from just about anyone to find out exactly what's going on. And of course, we have our underwriters too. We use 4 underwriters, and those underwriters are able to kind of guide us through, some of the items and some of the things that are happening. And some of these issues and things are happening like in real time, that where literally things are just getting passed in certain states that we're in. And, we're just finding out a week or two ago that certain things are, in place that don't allow for certain things to happen. So for us, it's very important. Our recording manager, she's here locally in the Brandon area. She is extremely valuable to our team to know the ins and outs of, recordings and states, how they operate. So to have people on the back end that are able to understand that and facilitate a lot of these deals, some people really don't understand how much goes into it, but we're kind of the last line of defense. Title's not sexy. It's never been sexy, but at the end of the day, what we do and what our team does on the back end to get these deals to the finish line is just miraculous. So
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about the industry, that it's continuously changing all the time. So it's just being able to have the proper team in place to um, be able to utilize their expertise and, of course, their education that they're continuously daily learning on new ways to pivot. And just especially in the title company space, you need to be on your P's and Q's. Got to cross your T's and dot your I's because anything can go wrong. So making sure that you're protecting your clients, but also protecting your guys' self is huge.
right. And we try to do our best. We're an impartial party to the transaction. So for us, it's not like we're favoring the buyer or the seller or the wholesaler or the lender. We're trying to just keep everyone, put together and at bay. That's why we love working with TCs, transaction coordinators, because they really kind of help us as well. We do value those relationships tremendously. And for any wholesalers or investors out there that don't have a TC, get one because they make all the difference. And our title closers, they love working with TCs that have knowledge and understand the creative stuff. So for us, it's just a really important part of the puzzle that we like to explain to people. Just because some wholesalers that are new, some investors are, they probably think, "Do I really need a TC?" Yeah, you
All the time. All the time. I deal with wholesalers and investors like, well, I would never want to pay someone else to do this. Like I could do that. But little do you know, they take off a lot of stress, a lot of the back and forth, and especially the communication back and forth with title company. There's so many things that go into it that as an investor, as a wholesaler, like you need to go out and keep hustling. You keep finding your
right.
next deal. And I don't have time to do that.
Yeah, it's all about getting the next deal. Do what your strength is.
Yeah,
Paperwork and putting parties together and gathering information is that. If that's what you're good at, then be a TC. But if you're
I
an
agree.
investor or wholesaler, go after the deals, get the deals locked up, meet with the sellers. Put the deals together. That's really it. And then let the TC do their job. So yeah, we think it's really huge, and for us, again, it makes our process even better because we know we'll close on time, we'll get things done the right way by having the right parties in the transaction.
Love it. Yeah. No, it's always good to kind of see what you guys are doing. Of course, getting to know you a little bit. Let's kind of set the tone. Can you give us kind of a quick overview on your title company versus the difference versus a traditional title company? Like, what's the biggest difference between you guys?
Well, the one thing I want to point out is that our title company can do traditional deals. We have title companies in different states. Like, we have a couple offices in Texas and a bunch of them in Tennessee. I think we have 11 in Tennessee that actually have offices built for retail. They actually work with brokerages like EXP and Engel and Volkers and, companies that are, top real estate brokerages in the United States. Like they handle retail. So we do handle retail all day long. We work with lenders, we do refinances, we do commercial transactions. I mean, we can pretty much do it all, but we do have a team within the company called Creative Closed that handles all the creative wholesale investor transactions. So for me, I work with pretty much everyone. I still work with lenders I've worked with 25 years ago today, which is great. But the difference between us and most companies is we're more versatile. We actually have the ability to pivot and shift. Wholesale and investor transactions have always been pretty consistent, and they're probably the last couple of years they've been at an all-time high as far as I've seen. But and then retail, of course, is a lot slower these days because rates are high. Retail's just slow altogether. At the end of the day, that's going to change at some point. It always does. It's a cyclical business, so we're hoping it changes sooner than later. But whether it changes sooner or later, we're still well positioned with the investor community, pretty heavy, and not a lot of companies as well understand the transactions or want to take the time to learn them. If you contact 20 title companies today and just call them and see what they do, I'd say that there might be a handful of them that even do wholesale or investor transactions, just because they've just never done it. They don't have the experience. They might not have the underwriters that, have the appetite for them. And luckily we do. We know which underwriters, are more investor friendly, and again, it's really just, like I said, being versatile and having different offices set up for different things. And it really does help because there's times where I'll have a commercial due in New York and, our creative team won't touch that. They don't know New York, or they're just, commercials a little bit different from what we do. So we'll have someone internally that is one of our attorneys that actually handles the file from start to finish. So for us, we always have an answer, which is nice. The only thing that is tough is we're not in all 50 states yet. So there's still 12 states that we have to, sometimes pass off to our title friends that are out there that might be able to help. I just referred an Arkansas deal to someone 20 minutes before this call, just because
Nice.
they to Arkansas yet. But we try to never have to say no to the client. If there's a way we can help them, even if it's not directly us helping them, we want to help them. Even if we don't get credit, we don't make any money, because the way we look at it, it always comes back. We always pay it forward, and for us, if we can refer people, whether it's an attorney that can help, file, drop documents for an LLC or land trust. We don't do that in-house, but we have vendors that'll do it. We have partners that'll do it. So, that's kind of like really the way I kind of view my role. It's not just to get deals in and close them and make money. It's to really build relationships, add value, and be able to say, hey, we can help you with this. You need a good TC that you're looking to replace your old one with, or you need private money. We can hook them up with different lenders that we work with, that we close with, people that we can vet, because at the end of the day, it's tough when you're out there and you're on an island by yourself trying to Google someone and say, oh, I'm going to try this lender or this company that's going to charge me up front for a service that most companies don't. Don't do that.
Yeah.
You rely on your title companies like us, or your vendors that are out there, and they know, like your group, your group that we're part of now as an affiliate. I'm sure there's a lot of people that can reference people from that group that have experience in some of the things, some people are looking for. So that's why I think
Exactly.
there's a lot of power in these big Facebook groups like yours that have a lot of people that are in the trenches selling properties every day, looking for buyers.
I agree. And it's always working with reputable companies. That's the biggest thing. And that's exactly why we're building out the community in the first place, is to be able to know, hey, like, if we refer you to these people, we know they do good business. They're not going to try to scam you. They're not going to try to take advantage of you. And if they don't know if they can help you in that situation, they're going to pass you off to somebody that they know that can at least point you in the right direction. So that's our biggest thing by building the community, is just at least helping one another. And of course, just creating an environment where everybody feels like, hey, I'm not getting taken advantage of. Because as you know, in the industry, there's a lot of sour apples.
There are. And there's a lot of fraud. I mean, unfortunately, and
There
it's,
is.
a lot of people don't want to talk about it, but as a title company, we see it like all the time. We see people trying to pulling over on, these poor people that are out there and taking assignment fees and stealing EMDs and just, fraudulently signing documents that aren't, I mean, it's really crazy. But,
It's
and
the worst.
luckily, when you have experience and you have the right underwriters that are looking at the deals, things get flagged. We're always looking at notices from underwriters that have a certain entity to stay away from. Like, we'll get alerts like almost every couple of days, like, stay away from this entity because they are, on the watch list, or they're doing something that's not right. And, our people have to pay attention to that. And it can get overwhelming. I mean, we're nationwide, that's why a lot of companies aren't, they're in one state, one county, but most of them aren't nationwide like we are. So when you're nationwide, it's a whole different ball game. It's learning different states. Some states have different nuances. Some aren't even online to do searches. You have to have someone walk to the county court steps just to get a search done, and it's crazy. But at the end of the day, we wouldn't have it any other way. It keeps us busy. There's never a dull moment in the title world. I can promise you that. No matter how slow or busy you are, we're always every day like, can you believe this happened? Like, yep, absolutely. So,
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing too, having underwriters that are looking into these things a little bit more in depth and flagging suspicious activity. Like, for example, one time I was working with a company, we purchased a multifamily out in Detroit. And come to find out, the seller wasn't even the seller, but the title company never caught that. So we wired the funds, it went through the whole process. And then a couple of days after it closed, the actual owner was calling me like, hey, why are you trying to sell my property right now? Like, what's going on?
yep, we see that a lot too. It is unfortunately a necessary evil, but at the end of the day, when you do a lot of volume, you're going to get deals like that. So every month we get deals like that, but we do, again, thousands of closings a month. So for us, the percentages are real low, but it doesn't end that way.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know you work a little bit on both sides, retail and creative. I'm assuming just kind of after our conversations, you're more on the creative side, correct?
Yeah, I mean, again, we handle everything.
Of
It's
course.
just that side of the business on retail is just a lot slower right now. So a lot of our focus and attentions with the wholesalers and the investors. So we are part of a lot of different groups, a lot of local meetups. I mean, I was just at a local sub two meetup last night with a top tier TC that was speaking to about 80 people. So we like to be part of the local events, and sometimes we even go a little further, different states. We did an event in Houston a few months ago. So for us at Closed Title, we're not afraid to travel. We're always, and again, I'm talking about just our particular team. There's 26 other offices that are very active, that are doing different things as well. And again, we find that the more you're out there, the more opportunities. So
Okay.
I was part of, I think I did 3 events yesterday. So today I was a little bit tired when I woke up. My wife said, "You just slept in this morning." I'm like, "Yeah, I did." 3 events can really wear on you. And I think the last event ended at 9, last night started at 8. So yeah, but they're a lot of fun. Again, being able to meet new people, seeing old faces as well. It always helps. And again, I think at 2 of the events I was at yesterday, there was not one other title company there. So for us at Closed Title, we find that as a massive opportunity because again,
Blue
we're
Ocean.
the ones putting ourselves out there. We're the ones shaking hands and talking to people about our services and things that we can do to help. I think I sent about 2 or 3 referrals out at one event last night for they needed some attorney help with probates, and I was able to talk about a local attorney that I'm friends with, and just to be able to help people like that. And then the next day, them thank you and send pictures of what all the pictures they took the night before. It's just it's fun. It keeps the flow going. It's never, like I said, never a dull moment.
It's a good feeling. It's a good feeling knowing that you help somebody too. And also just knowing that like, hey, next time I know it's going to come around. Hey, I referred them over here, but I know if they ever need title work, they're going to refer them to me or they're going to come to me and they're going to need our help.
Right.
Beautiful. Okay. Um, so I'm curious. So obviously with you guys doing a lot of the creative side, also the retail, how does your team support the creative transaction subject to seller financing, wraps, novations? Because you guys do a little bit of everything, no?
Yeah, it's really honestly, it's a team effort. I mean, we have closers that are in, like Adrian Prince, she's pretty much our rock star closer she lives in the mountains in North Carolina. And we call her she's like the mafia boss for us. Like she's the one that actually is kind of the lead of everything we do. And at Closed Title, she pretty much handles a lot of most of the creative deals like come through her. And because she understands that Kendall Rivera, she's in Dallas, Texas, and she's amazing. She's been with us. She's actually worked with me for the last few companies I've worked with. But she understands the sub-twos real well too. She's our designated Texas agent. So in the state of Texas, you actually have to use a licensed Texas agent. You can't use a Florida agent or a California agent. It has to be specific. So that's how some states are different. You have to specifically work with someone that's licensed. California is the same way. And again, it really honestly is kind of round robin. Sometimes we'll get to a point where, they're reaching capacity on their limits of what they can handle. And then we have other offices that'll pitch in. Like we have an office in Oklahoma and Tulsa we have someone that's really, really knowledgeable on creative and sub twos, and she knocks it out of the park. Her name's Janae and she's phenomenal. So, again, we have a nice team that can help. We have another office in Boca Raton that is right next to our corporate office, Closed Title in Fort Lauderdale. They help us with a lot of creative and wholesale deals too. So, we kind of bounce all these offices back and forth to each other. We're actually, believe it or not, I'm glad you asked that because we just hired actually 2 new closers from a competitor that are actually getting ready to start in another 10 days. So that's going to help our team even more because we're starting to see the volume pick up again. And the ironic part is we're actually, looking right now for more creative wholesale title agents or closers.
And ask that.
So, I kind of implore anyone that's watching this video, if you know of anyone that has the experience of closing these deals, and even if it's a local closer in your hometown, we would talk to and probably hire them if they had the experience and they were available. We actually get resumes all the time, but, our creative close team is really looking for that specific title agent that knows these transactions inside and out. They have a track record. That way it's a lot easier to just drop them in, get them set up on our Qualia portal so they can learn our Qualia system. That's another thing too. We have a closing portal called Qualia Connect, and it's the Cadillac of closing portals. It actually allows the parties to actually get access to the portal so they can see what's happening in real time. And it's really neat because, you get some people that are like, they just control freaks that got to know what's going on here and there. And they can just literally get a login and password and go see what's happening, in the file and say, oh my goodness, title came back in 48 hours. Oh, good. Here it is. And everything looks clear and they can actually go in and see themselves. They obviously have the ability to reach out to our closing team and email them or call them as well. But but to give them access as well so that they can actually be, watching TV on their couch at midnight and just log in and go, oh wow, look at this. There's some progress. That's pretty cool. So for the way technology has evolved for title since I started in the business 24 years, it's like night and day. I mean, it's like life before the cell phone with pagers and beepers, So nowadays everything is digital, it's online. We even have the ability for clients now to actually, instead of going to the bank to wire their EMD or deposit, they can actually use a Venmo style app from their phone and just literally go on there and put in a $500 EMD or $1,000 EMD right from their phone, right from the comforts of their own home. I mean, it's just cool how we have now technology that help the process even more. Cash closings as well. If there's a cash closing that's done, we can actually close it virtually. We don't have to do it with a mobile notary or go to an office. Everything's done online. So there's just so many things about the title world that have evolved over the years that really make the process so much easier. I mean, some people that haven't bought a property in 5-10 years, when they close with us, they're kind of like, newbies, and they're like looking at us like, wow, this is great. You can do all this online. But it just really, again, for us to handle the volume too, the way we do, we have to have some options like this. So that way, the more options you have for a client, the better, and we do try to, keep them in line with everything we got going on and keep them updated as much as we can. Because how it is sometimes with these transactions, you got the buyer, the seller, there's a lender involved, sometimes a realtor, TC. And if there's a wholesale involved, and they've got a few other guys that are JV in the deal, there's like maybe one or two or three or four guys.
Everybody
So
mentioned being equipment away.
sometimes they're like calling and calling and calling, and it's like, man, it gets a little hectic sometimes. But we do a really good job at managing it the best we can. And nothing's ever perfect, no matter how good you are. But we have a really good setup. And again, the owners are very in tune with what we're doing as far as making things better, getting us in more states. I mean, this year alone, they got us licensed in 30 states, which is, I've never heard of that in my entire life.
Wow.
In all my years in title, I've never seen a title company get licensed in that many states in less than a year. And they accomplished that feat, closed title this year. And I'm just like, what can't these guys do? So
And that's the cool thing about it. Like I mentioned earlier, the industry is continuously evolving. So it's being able to adapt with it and pivot and figure out how to stay on top of the curve, and everything that you guys are implementing, especially with allowing people to submit EMD right from the comfort of the couch. Things like that are extremely helpful. So I love to hear that.
And we're trying to make it easy for the parties to, when people want to get commissions, the realtors especially, we'll wire them right in when the deal, when everything's funded and closed and the wire hits, we automatically send out a wire to all the parties, and we don't charge them anything. I know for a fact that our competitors will charge and kind of bang them up, bang people up for, $5, $10, $20, $30 whenever they get an opportunity to, they'll do it. And you can go to our website and it'll say right there in the front of our website, it'll tell people, hey, we don't charge for wire fees. So when we wire your funds, it's in your account and it's good to go. So
Yeah,
I think that really,
times for those wires.
that goes a long way with the agents we work with too, because agents, they're sticklers when it comes to getting their money when they want to get it, and wire fees and bank fees. Yeah, we just don't do that. We make it nice and easy for them.
Nice. Okay. I'm curious, obviously, with you being in the industry for quite some time, I'm sure you've seen some crazy deals going through. I mean, what are some of the biggest misconceptions that you would say that you see within the creative space on just creative deals?
Well, honestly, I think sometimes when you hear about the way some people that aren't really in the industry, kind of view wholesale deals or even creative, I mean, when we see, some people probably look at, sub twos and creative and say, oh, well, companies that don't understand or people that don't understand, they might say, oh, that's illegal. That shouldn't be done and whatever. And the funny thing is, well, these people that are getting pretty much, helped, that are in a situation that they're basically about to lose everything. They're about to be homeless. They're about to lose everything they have. And to have a person step in, take over the mortgage, give them some money, allow them to kind of still be part of the process without just losing everything. We see it on the very back end when the deals close, how people are reacting to that. And the people we talk to, I mean, every single person that we close with, we send them an email while congratulating them for their closing, no matter what type of transaction it is. And even on sub twos, you get these clients, these borrowers that or these sellers that are just like, thank you so much, for helping. We had really not too many options other than this, or seller carryback deals where like, these deals are really keeping people still in the home. And it's just amazing, like when you see the way people react to our team, our closers. I mean, I can't tell you how many times our closers have gotten, gift cards and candy and like flowers just for a way of, thanking them because, it's not just us building out, it's the wholesaler, it's the end buyer. So people that are coming in and doing it. So for us, we see a lot of good, even though, for a lot of people, don't understand the wholesale investment world, there's a lot of good that happens with these transactions. And we see that every day. So for us, going through the deal might be stressful because there's things that go south or the buyer drops out or, there's renegotiation or the inspection came back and, there's more work to be done. There's all these different variables that come along and it's stressful. I mean, it is stressful, but at the end of the day, when it finally comes together, just the way everyone is at the end, I mean, for the most part, everyone's super happy. Everyone's in a good mood. So to get that energy and that positiveness from a successful closing, it's really amazing. It really makes it worthwhile. You know what I mean? Even though we're doing a lot of deals and a lot of closings, it's still nice to see, people, happy and we're actually doing good for people, getting these deals done, making it happen, whether it's the realtor, the lender, the wholesaler. To us, it's all about closing deals and making everyone happy.
Well, that's the really cool thing too, is that like you're helping so many people in that transaction. Like if you really zoom out and think about it, you're helping the family in need, you're helping the wholesaler, you're helping the title company. So everybody involved within the title company, if there's an agent involved, they're getting fed. The back end buyer, if they're a fix and flipper, they get that property, feed their family. But then even the end buyer that buys the property. So it's always a win-win for everybody. Of course, making sure that it's structured correctly and
Right.
there's a lot of people taking advantage of people in the industry too, but
Yeah.
working with somebody that's actually trustworthy and willing to, hey, I want to help you. And once they understand that, hey, this is a helping process, it's 10 times easier.
You wouldn't believe how many clients we get from doing a transaction and someone using us for the first time and being a party to the transaction that's never worked with us. And then next thing you know, a week or two later, we get this call and it's the seller or it's the buyer that says, hey, I buy 10 deals, 10 homes a month nationwide. And I like the way you guys work. I want to start working with you. Here's a deal in Texas. Here's one in Missouri. So that's always really cool, and that does happen quite a bit. So for us, that's why we're always staying on top of, our clients, making sure the experience was good. What can we have done better? Because again, there's sometimes, closing deadlines don't get met. And it could be situations where, it might be on, one of the parties. It might not even be on us because the search company sent the search late or, some of these counties are a little backed up right now because volume's picking up. So there's one deal in New York, a guy like literally it's been 3 weeks and he's just like, man, it's a lean search. And sometimes in some counties in certain states, they're backed up, so for us, it's not like we can do anything special. We can't, hold them hostage and say, you need to get this done. It's like, hey, we got to wait, so, and our team does a good job at following up and, trying to build urgency with, the different things that are, maybe not working out as quickly as we like. But again, there's a lot that goes into this. So, I mean, I honestly, I have my title license and I'm glad I've always had it, but I could never, ever do what my team does internally. Like operationally, they are the rock stars, Adrian, Kendall, Mandy, Kathy, they're all just amazing, but they understand and, they have patience, it's sometimes I don't even have, but I'm like, wow, they're able to kind of ride through it and get it done. And, yeah, just a testament to them. So for us, again, like having a team that surrounds us and supports us. And when things are real crazy, we have owners that'll jump in and be able to kind of help assist. And they're great, Dan and Devin. So, I mean, it's just, like I said, it's a team effort. It really is. So having a team like Close to kind of back you up on all the stuff you're doing, it makes a big difference. I mean, being by yourself and just being a one person shop trying to handle all this, it would be probably the hardest thing to do. You need a lot of Jack Daniels to get through the week.
Yeah, no, especially like even as a solo entrepreneur, like when I first started wholesaling, I was doing it all on my own and
Yeah.
just trying to talk to sellers, get the contracts put together, send it to title, do all of that. It's a headache. So having a team like yours that's all together, willing to help one another. And then also you guys' streamlined communication process, like having that portal, that's huge because now you don't have to do the back and forth with the wholesaler or the investors. Like they can log in and see. Now, of course, when there's delays, it's good that you guys have that streamlined communication with them following up and letting people know what's going on.
Right. No, I know. And then one other thing that I want to mention that I think is a big part of helping a lot of wholesalers and investors is that, a lot of times they'll need us to, drop legal documents, land trusts or different things that they need drawn up. Well, there's one way to do it, and then there's another way. We can always refer them to an attorney. And as we know, attorneys might charge an arm and a leg or overcharge to get, a document signed. And it might take them a week or two, just because they're attorneys, they're busy. We actually have a third party company that we work with, that we've worked with for years, that actually is and they're nationwide like we are. They will actually drop legal documents and get them back to us within a day or two and charge a fraction of what an attorney would charge. And I'm talking like, if attorney charges 500 to 1,000 for a legal document drop, they'll charge like 100, 200 bucks. That's it. And we send them so much business that we're like their number one client. So there's times that, someone might say, I need to get a land trust drawn up and I need it today. We can literally reach out to them and say, listen, Jordan really, really needs this today because his closing's happening on Friday. Is there any way you can get us this, land trust drawn up today? And within a couple hours, bam, they'll send it over to us. We'll get it from them. They'll send us the invoice, 100, 200 bucks, like nothing crazy. And, our clients are just kind of baffled. They're like, how did you do that? And it's like, well, it's magic. But at the end of the day, it's having resources like that on our back end that really allow us to be able to give more value to our clients, because most title companies don't have that resource and they're calling attorneys, and attorneys are basically the ones that are, charging more and taking longer. And that's just the reality of it. I've never, for the last 3 years, I've always been able to see how they operate with this company. Before that, it was always just, we were kind of had to wait for the attorney to get done, and it would delay the closing. And then everyone was upset. And, then by the time it closed, people were happy, but they're like, man, that took forever,
Yeah.
So we have resources that can speed it up and make it so that at least this is another option. So,
Yeah. And I know there's a lot of, I would say, boogeymen in creative space, such as especially the subject to space, as far as like do on sell clause and everything that's kind of go against it. Have you guys ran into any situations like that before?
yeah, I mean, that's something that our operations people run into like all the time. And luckily, like I said, when we run into it, we just, bring it to the specialists in our back end that actually know how to handle it and see if there's ways around it. And there's always ways around it. I mean, it's at the end of for me, when I get those requests, I literally go right to the sources that understand, okay, here's what we're up against. How can we beat this? And then, whether we have to reach out to our internal team or go to our underwriter, we have people that can help us and people that can help, overcome certain things, push things through. And that's what's great about it is the collaboration, the support, the people that can actually, help on the back end, because I wish I had all the answers. I don't, but I know where to get.
That's and that's the key thing that you mentioned too, is like where to get them. For one, you can be able to resource that and find that elsewhere. But also the biggest thing is like every problem has a solution. It just comes down to figuring out what's the best approach to make it work.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
I love that. And with you guys being nationwide, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of legal and protection that you guys have to make sure that you guys are following. Is there like, I guess, how are you guys insurance compliance in these creative transactions nationwide in different states?
Well, most transactions require or they want title insurance, and then there's some transactions that we close that the client doesn't need title insurance. They just want to close the deal. We just had a South Dakota deal like that about a week ago, where the client said, "Hey, we want to get this sub to close, but we don't need title insurance." And for us, we follow the client's lead, on how they want to do it. I mean, as far as our title company in general to protect ourselves, we actually, work with different underwriters. We actually have to have legally certain insurance in place in order to protect us as well from different things, claims, things like that. Because, companies like ours that do a lot of volume, I mean, with volume, there's going to be deals that come out that there's going to be issues. There's going to be legal issues. There's going to be situations where there's a standoff, between the seller and the buyer. And, they're fighting over the EMD. And at that point, we basically let them fight it out legally. So, I mean, there's things that always come up that, that we are ready for, but at the end of the day, we can only do so much from our side to really try to make all parties happy. And it's never going to work out where everyone's going to be happy, and sometimes it gets a little ugly. So for us, we'll be the first to say, hey, if you guys can't work this out, then, you might want to seek legal representation to work it out, because it's not like we're going to go, hey, we like Jordan better than you. Here you go. Here's the EMD. Here's your 5,000. They're going to be like, what about me? Like we can't do that. So we have to literally say, hey, it doesn't matter who we like better. If you guys can't agree, then at that point, it's mediation, it's legal. Then we kind of back away and just kind of let it work itself out, whatever way they want to work it out.
Understood. And for those in the audience that may or may not know what title insurance, can you elaborate just a little bit on what exactly title insurance is and why anybody would even utilize title insurance?
Yeah, it's just protection that you have that you can basically, for the homeowner, just so that, you're protected. Like, for example, when my wife and I bought our house, the prior owners had their title insurance set up, so they were protected until they sold the house to us. And then for us, it's just more protection that allows the owners to make sure that someone just can't show up one day on our doorstep and say, hey, I'm the owner of, our home address, you need to leave. It's just another layer of protection, for the homeowner or the investor. So that way, not any, other people just can't claim that it's theirs. So for
Almost.
it's always a really vital thing to have. Is it mandatory? It's not really mandatory, but for someone to buy a house and not have title insurance, so that there's, a certain track record of history behind it, it's a major risk. It's like driving around without car insurance. I mean, yeah, sure, you can do it, but you get pulled over, cop gets you, he looks and sees, or she looks and sees that you're not insured. That means, you're going to get a ticket or you can get arrested.
Yeah.
There's all these different factors, but, title insurance is pretty much the same, but it's the protection of the home. So for me, it's always been, a thing that I've always looked at, that I could never imagine anyone not having it, because when issues arise and you don't have title insurance, then there's going to be issues on who owns the property and different things that could come up, and liens and encumbrances. Cause, at the end of the day, when we do a title search and we clear title, before we clear it, if it says that there's liens on it from, a payoff that wasn't paid off to the utilities company, or, something else, the new owner, actually, it's on them. You know what I mean? So that's why, for us, it's like, if we bought the house and we didn't do title insurance and they had all these different things that we didn't know about, those people, those vendors can come after us legally and say, hey, you're the owner now, you owe us for blank. It's 20,000 in this, or 5,000 at that. It's like, holy crap. How would I have avoided this? Getting title insurance, getting a title search done, clearing title, so everything's clear, so that you own the house free and clear. There's nothing else on there that's gonna, get in your way.
It's almost kind of like a guarantee that's title companies making sure, hey, we did our job correctly. Everything is done. And now if anything does pop up and later on, if there is a lien that pops up that we missed, hey, that's on us. We're going to have to make sure that we take care of that.
Right. And and in that case, if that were to happen, because it does happen from time to time, believe it or not, with certain title companies that maybe go out of business and they missed something 5 years ago. The underwriters are the ones that are really the title insurance people that will actually make it right, or they can go after that, underwriter. So the underwriters are real. We're at the end of the day, closed title, we're a title agent of, Fidelity, Westcor, First American, Chicago Title. Like, those are our underwriters. They're the actual title underwriters. We're the title agent. So we're the one that put all the deals together, and they're underwritten by one of those 4 underwriters. So for us, we do a lot for getting the deals to where they are, but at the end of the day, something goes wrong, it's the underwriter's responsibility, to actually, help along the way. Because one day, if closed title goes away, it's the underwriters that really are the ones that'll matter. So for us, when I bought our house, I think First American was our underwriter. The title company that we, closed with, they're not even in business anymore. So at the end of the day, we're not going to go to them if there's an issue. We got to go to First American, and we have our policy, we have our, paperwork. And that's one thing it's funny we're talking about this. It's one thing I got to make sure everyone understands that's listening to this, this podcast. Make sure you keep your paperwork. And if you are not good with paperwork, just, make sure you scan it and put it in a, zip drive, or, somewhere you can have it to always have in case you need it. Cause there's going to be a day you need it. You just don't know when. It could be next month. It could be 20 years from now.
Yeah.
Someday you will need it. And when you get it, it's going to be very important document to have. And again,
Piggybacking on that too, as well as going back to the transaction coordinator, like have a really good transaction coordinator that will gather all those documents and store those in a file for you to where you don't even have to worry about it. And now, if anything pops up, it's there.
yep, it's massive. So again, a lot of this is real important information. Hopefully everyone that's listening can take a little bit away from, but that's one thing, no matter what I'm telling you right now, store your paperwork and make sure it's in the right place. Cause we see a lot of horror stories, and sad, tragic stories where people can't find documents of who the real owner is and paperwork that's lost in the shuffle, or they just didn't know where it was. And it's really sad because then there's issues that arise from that. So
I agree. No, I love it. In my industry, I come across a lot of people in your industry too, that you come across a lot of people that are hesitant on doing creative financing transactions, agents, brokers. What is your advice on the people that are hesitant on moving forward with the creative transaction?
it's funny. I think the masses are tentative. I think most people that really don't understand wholesale creative, I don't think it's ever going to change, because it hasn't changed in the 11 or 12 years I've been in wholesale and creative. It's never been like the majority of people out there are, gung ho on creative and wholesale. It's always the minority. But to me, I kind of look at that as a major opportunity because, again, I prefer, even on the title side, I'm glad that the minority, of title companies really are in this side of the business, because less competition, so for me, I mean, I'm like, hey, I love the fact that, if I go to an investor event, there might be one other title company there. If I go to a retail broker open with agents and lenders, there might be like 5, 10, 20 title companies there. And I'm just kind of looking around like, man, this is a lot, and for me, again, I look at it from a competitive advantage of, hey, I all day long, I'm kind of glad that there's less people that are involved in our industry. And I see that growing though. I see a lot more people than 10, 12 years ago that are in it now than there were back then. I mean, it's just really, Tampa Bay was kind of the mecca of wholesale and investor transactions back in like 2012, 13 and 14. That's really the time frame that I saw a huge, explosion, but it all kind of started in Tampa Bay. There were some really big buyers that were in that are still in our area that were like the pioneers of wholesale, that really all these big brokerages like New Western and, all these bigger companies that are exploiting, like they all kind of hedged from the same areas of Tampa Bay and then California. And it just kind of grew from there. And it's great to see, especially with the people that were the pioneers that started it. And now, fast forward to 2025, like they're like the OGs of the industry. And you're just like, wow, these guys are legends. But at the end of the day, there's always room for improvement. There's always different deals, different processes. Like, like knowing some of these big players like Pace Morby and even like Rich Wonders for novations and Pace Morby for sub twos and contract for deeds. It's like, it seems like things are just evolving more and more in the industry. And that's really allowing for more opportunities, more deals. And I see a lot. I actually see a lot of realtors getting involved in creative and wholesale these days. Last night, I had about 10 or 12 of them, smaller brokerages that have like, they're not like massive, brokerages, but they might have 10, 20, 30, agents that are all focused on off market, because again, retail's very saturated and nothing's really moving. Off market investors, they're getting to the sellers a lot quicker than everyone else is. So
I think it's huge to have these type of tools in your tool belt. That's one thing, especially when I was doing direct to agent, I would speak with a lot of agents who are like, absolutely not, would never present that to our sellers. And it's more of the mindset shift, knowing like, hey, this is something I could truly help this seller with. Now, I've also come across a lot of investors that are strictly, oh, I'm only going after sub 2 deals. So I'm only pitching subject 2 deals, where that's not a benefit to the seller either. So it's really just having that conversation, figuring out what's their problem and how can we solve it. And now having these different tools is the best way to do so.
Yeah, I literally, I love working with the agents and the wholesalers that give many options to the 100%. Like that, those are the ones I respect the most because they're really looking out for the seller. Sometimes people look at sub 2 because they look at the dollars or they look at the opportunity and they're like, man, And you can't really think that way. I mean, you have to
Oh,
like really help everybody. People always ask us, are there any deals that you won't take? We've closed $5,000 land deals, like, and made like $200 as a title insurance, like on the policy. And then we've closed, you know, $100 million, $100 million hotels or, commercial, and made a ton of money. Like, we'll do everything few and in between. For us, we'll take any deal. We're not like gonna ever say that's too small or that's too big. Like, we'll take everything. So for us,
nice.
sometimes we have clients that actually will send a deal and say, we're really sorry, there's no meat on this one. But it's like, for us, it's like we don't really look at it that way, because when you're doing volume, it all works out in the end. It's
Oh,
all gonna the numbers, when you put them all together, they're always gonna be about the same amount. And it's just really, we're in a volume driven, industry. So for us, it's more about how many deals did we get this month versus how big were they? We don't care how big they were, because at the end of the day, again, they do vary and amounts. In some states, the title insurance premiums are lower than Colorado or
yeah.
California or Florida or Texas. So it's not like we're just going to say we're only in those four states just because other title premiums are low. We're going to work every state we can. And we just try to like look at it from that point of view. Cause again, we're not in it just to make all the money in the world on the best states. We're looking to grow nationwide and help everyone.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, it's all about just more of the quantity. Not the yeah, it's more of the quantity, also the quality as well. I mean, at the end of the day, like if you're not making much, but you're doing really good business, they're going to continue to come to you, and now that's going to start to add up over time. So,
Right.
I love that you guys have that model.
Yep.
And so with those people that are kind of on the fence and on the edge of doing any creative financing transactions, do you guys by chance offer any like trainings, resources, support to help these professionals get a little bit more comfortable and confident to go with these navigate these transactions?
What we do, and it's funny you say that, we actually had someone at last night's meetup that was talking to, the audience. It was a couple of TCs that were top tier TCs that were, very high level. And they were talking about putting together like a training, for how to speak to sellers, just basic things to kind of massage the process so that they're not, they're saying the right things, they're not looking bad, or they're not getting rejected. And for us as a title company, all day long, we'll take a podcast like that or a training like that and just send it out to our entire network and say, hey, you should listen to these women because this is a really valuable tool that you can learn. Do we actually have the ability to train people like from our company? We could, but we're just that busy. So for us, we're so busy just trying to handle the clients and the closings. For us, it's just really, really challenging. But at the end of the day, we try to lean on our clients and our vendors that have those resources. And we get a lot of them that do. Like, we just had a conference in Tampa a few weeks ago that, there's a lot of great speakers that talked about some things that were really meaningful to, local investors and wholesalers. So we invited a lot of people to that, and they got a lot out of it. I actually got a lot out of some of the speaking too, and it had nothing to do with title. So for us, we can refer and provide value by getting people the right information, maybe from different sources, different trainings. But we're always running into people like that that have things to offer that are worthwhile. And when it's really valuable, like, we get it out to everyone. Like, we have a lot of followers on our pages and stuff like that, but we do email our clients all the time and say, hey, if you're not doing anything on this day, they're doing this event. Networking events are a dime a dozen. They're,
Yeah.
they're a lot of fun, and it's great to network. There's a lot of value there. But whenever there's trainings or things like that can really help people, whether it's for lending, whether it's continuing education for realtors, yeah, we're always doing it. I just, believe it or not, before this call, I had to do some continuing education for my title company, and learned a lot about, rehashed a lot about the laws and liens and different things like that. So it's like constant. It's never ending.
Yeah, no, you're always learning. I mean, the day that you stop learning is the day that you're not growing. So continuously educating yourself daily is the biggest thing that I love. Just surrounding myself around people that are in the same space and really wanting to become better.
Right.
Nice. Well, I know we kind of connected over Facebook, seeing what you guys are doing. I know we kind of were in communication a little bit. Why did you choose to become one of our verified affiliates over other companies? I know that you mentioned a lot of people come to you guys with these type of opportunities. What made you guys choose us over I guess, the other people?
Well, I'm going to give you the credit. You were relentless. No, all kidding aside, when you did reach out about the opportunity, I did my research. I saw that you had a lot of members, and we tend to do really well with groups with a lot of members. Like the creative groups, we do amazing with just because there's so many people we reach out to. We've got a good reputation in those groups. For us, we see a lot of value in groups like that because when you get some people that are singing your praises and talking to people about how good you are, and we're doing some posts about what we can offer. We're finding honestly that the more we're out there putting ourselves out there, the more response we get back because there's not a lot of companies that like ours out there. It's not like there's 100 title companies in the Pace Morby group talking about how they can do every transaction there is for creative and wholesale. I think there might be one or two, and there's 260 members. I mean, 260,000 members. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
So they have
quite a bit.
so many people to reach out to and to talk to. It's just amazing. And then also, Colorado is a state that we have really started getting a lot of business in the last, like, say 4 or 5 months. It's been
Right.
we've been licensed there, I think, since February, maybe March, but the volume we've been getting there has been pretty substantial. So when we saw a group in Colorado reaching out to us, and the fact that there wasn't another title company that was nationwide that was going to be an affiliate, it was actually an easy choice for us. And, when I brought it to my owners, they were just like, absolutely, let's do it. We're even
Love
considering coming down in September for your quarterly meetup. And it's
Yeah.
just an excuse for me to get out to the mountains and see the.
Yeah, no, we would love to have you guys come out. I mean, definitely what you guys are doing is a game changer. Like you said, not a lot of people are able to handle these type of transactions. And especially in our Colorado market, as you know, prices are extremely high. So you have to think outside the box sometimes. Cash
Right.
transactions oftentimes don't work. So structuring things with creative financing and finding a title company that can actually do that and do it good is extremely hard. So that's really why I really wanted to bring you guys aboard within our community and be able to offer your guys' services to everyone in there.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's great. And every time I connect with someone in Colorado, I mention your group.
I
And
love that.
sometimes I'll get people that don't know about it, and I'll send them the link just to kind of give you guys some more opportunities, to get more members.
I
But
love
yeah,
that.
like I said, just Colorado's a great state for us, and we've had really good success. And we're starting to see a lot more, like I said, new clients that are coming in from Colorado or doing deals in Colorado from other states. So either way, it doesn't matter which way it is. We can be working with people that are in Colorado doing Florida, Texas. It doesn't matter. It's all the
Exactly.
same to us. You know,
Yeah, and that's the cool thing too. There's a lot of investors that we have within our group specifically that do other deals, Texas, Florida, Georgia, they do them all over, but they also have it in Colorado. So it's always good to work with those type of people. And then also we're continuously growing. We're still in the beginning stages. Like we started this in January and been able to scale up to 60,000 members already. So the things that we are trying to accomplish at the moment is going to be huge, but also having people like yourself that can bring the feedback. Hey, maybe we can implement this. Maybe we can do that. It's going to continuously help us grow this community and really be able to skyrocket.
yep,
Uh,
absolutely.
I love that. And so with you being a verified affiliate as far as our title company, being able to handle all these transactions, creative, cash, traditional, whatever it may be,
Right.
what should our members expect when choosing to work with you guys? Like, is there like a starting process like an onboarding process that you guys need, paperwork, anything like that?
Honestly, all they really need to do is just reach out to me. I can send them my QR code. They can send me, they obviously download my QR code, and then it'll automatically send me their information. And then I can just, store them in our contact list for the Colorado area and just basically follow up with them with all of our information. And then that way they'll have our coverage map, our services, all my direct contact info. And then when they're ready to give us a call or they have a deal they need help with or have questions about, they can just feel free to reach out to me directly. And what happens is it's better to reach out to me versus call the corporate office or call an office in Utah or, just kind of like dial a number that is on our website, just because, again, we have different offices that are set up for different things. If you're doing wholesale creative deals, call me. If you're doing retail in Utah, call the Utah office. So, just so that you get to the right person, because what's going to happen is they're going to redirect them to me anyway. It'll save the time. And also, I'm going to know who to place them with when they send their deal, whether it's in Colorado or whether it's in Texas. If they're going to send a deal in Texas, they got to work with Kendall or Linda or one of our other closers that are there. They're not going to work with Adrian or, Kathy or Mandy or anyone, in the other offices or Casey. So I'm going to know exactly where they need to go. I'm going to know if it's creative, wholesale, whatever they need to do. Some of our closers are a little stronger with assignments, some of them novations. So it just, again, really depends, but I kind of am able to kind of, know exactly where to put them. And then once we assign them to whatever closer or agent that, they're going to be working with, I put them on an email right away.
Love
So if they submit a deal at 10 a.m. in the morning, by 11 or noon that same day, they're going to get a welcome email. They're going to get, an email saying, hey, you're going to be dealing with, Kendall Revere out of our Texas office. She's going to help you along the way. She's copied on this email. So if you have any questions for her, feel free to reach out. And then that way I kind of remove myself from the communication altogether, let them kind of now massage the relationship, and then
Yeah.
she'll get them to the finish line and she'll be helping them from A to Z. For me, I kind of help put it all together. I submit it to the right team, so I can help facilitate. I can help them, kind of with whatever they're needing. The other thing too is I want to make sure too, if they've got a deal, let's just say they're a wholesaler and they tell me, hey, I got this sub 2 deal. I've never done one before. Can you help me? The first question I'll ask, it's not like I'm just going to throw them to the wolves. I'm going to ask them, what TC do you have? And if they say they don't have a TC, I'm going to say, well, you probably need to get one. If you want to find one on your own, great. If you want me to give you a couple to call, you really need someone that can help you put all this stuff together, because chances are it's probably not going to close if you do it yourself and it's your first one, because you're not going to know how to kind of put it all together, and we try to educate people in that sense. Cause again, we want to see them successful. We don't want to see them fall on their face. And that's what happens a lot of times. If someone tries to do it all themselves, they've never done it before, the deal is going to falter, and it stinks when we see that, and it happens. But when it happens, it's sad, because then they think, oh, I'm no good. Oh, this industry stinks, or, whatever. And it's like, no, you just didn't do it right.
Yeah.
And again, some people are gluttony for punishment. They just try to do the same thing over and over and not change things, which is insane. Try it differently, so we try to at least give them a little bit of guidance in the beginning. And, that's one of the things we ask them right up front. I'll ask them point blank, if they say, oh yeah, my TC will be working with you. Her name's, whatever. Awesome. Then we know they're on the right path. And then we'll be able to say, we need her information, send it to, my email so that I can put them direct contact, because they're the ones that are going to be sending the paperwork over, getting the contracts. They'll really be the ones that'll be communicating with our closers, not the wholesaler, but again, wholesaler wants to be involved, and I'll let them know, hey, we'll keep you in touch. We'll keep you copied on the emails, or however you want to structure with your TC. I just want to let you know that they're going to probably be the ones doing most of the communicating, most of the, requests, and most of the follow-up, which is something that you can be involved in or remove yourself from. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess with that being said, Walter, I mean, how would people even get in touch with you? Do you have like any social medias that people could reach out to you on?
Yeah, you can just reach out to Walter DeVenne Biz, BIZ, WALTER BIDEVENNE Or you can just look up Walter DeVenne on LinkedIn. You can always go to our website, closetitle.com. It's pretty easy to spell. So, and you can actually find my information, on the website as well. I mean, I've got everything on there. So pretty easy to find. And then also, like I said, I mean, I know we're all part of the same Facebook group. So the Walter DeVenne Biz is probably the easiest one.
Or even reach out to me. Me or my partner, Gabrielle, will make sure that we can connect you with the appropriate people. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're looking for anything title, Walter is the guy.
Yep, I can help. And then, yeah, I have a group page on Facebook. It's just Walter A. DeVenne, the third national title resource. So you can reach out to me really anyway there. My cell phone is 727-224-1720. Pretty easy. But yeah, just feel free to, like I said, reach out anytime you want. If you have questions, you need some guidance. If it's a state that we don't help it in, I can refer you to another title company that can help. But pretty soon we'll be the only game in town for all 50 states. So that's where we're
amazing. Amazing. I love it. Yeah, we're super excited to be working with you guys. I know we're going to do a lot of great things, especially just with the community that we're building and you guys' services in general. So can't wait to see what the future holds. Walter, before we close this out, is there any final words that you would like to leave the audience with? Maybe some words of encouragement on keep going or whatever that may look like.
Honestly, just, you got to love what you do. I mean, if you don't love what you do, don't do it. For me, I'm a people person. I've always been one. And I've always enjoyed what I do, how I do it. I have a 18-year-old son who, has just graduated high school and he's trying to figure out what the heck he wants to do. And I told him, don't worry about it. It's going to come to him. But at the end of the day, if you enjoy what you do and you have fun with it, you can laugh, you can joke, you don't take things too seriously. That's important, because life's too short. For me, I love the industry I'm in. I have fun with it, even when things are tough. So, and again, real estate can be real challenging, at any level. It doesn't matter if you're a vendor, a wholesaler, a realtor, it's challenging. But at the end of the day, you could be working, 9 to 5, corporate office, with managers and owners, micromanaging you all day and you hating your job and your life. I think we've all had jobs like that before. I know I have. And I don't miss those days. I look at, the way it is now and, how life has changed so much. And, as I've grown older, I've appreciated life even more, not having people breathe down your neck and tell you what to do, how to do it, when to do it, So, at the end of the day, a lot of you guys are your own boss, appreciate that and know that, hey, you know what? If you're lazy, you need to kick your own butt to get going. For me, that's how I am all day. I push myself, all the time, especially when I'm going through the lull. I'm like, wake up, splash water in my face, drink a Red Bull, whatever it takes, So, but yeah, again, and the industry is going to get better too. Real estate is cyclical. Like I said earlier, there's going to be a point where real estate starts picking up again, and when it does, you better be ready, because I've been in this a long time. I've seen it go up and down, good markets, bad markets. But at the end of the day, there's nothing like real estate. So just realize and appreciate what you have.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Walter DeVenne, amazing. I appreciate the time that you provided to the community today and just being able to hop on here and tell us a little bit about your story and also the company that you're working with. You guys are doing amazing things and can't wait to see you guys in all 50 states, but super excited that you guys are here in Colorado helping a lot of our community members.
Yeah, we're excited too. Just don't forget the name Closed Title, best title name in the country. So remember our services too. We can definitely help.
I love it. I love it.